flooded with texts and emails. It's always the way when we talk boxing, isn't it? Barry McGuigan's with us. Delighted to say it's such a great story. Cyclone, my story, written by himself. Now, let's go on.
Just an offshoot before we get back, because that was brilliant. Do you remember how he helped us? Our knowledge of his nickname helped us win money on Who Wants
Millionaire.
to Be a Millionaire.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Because it came up, who was known as the Clonus Cyclone.
Yeah.
As soon as it came up, I said to Keezy, I know that.
I know that little brat.
I know that. And up it came, Barry McGuigan, and we got that, and on we went.
Do you know how much we won? Ask us how much we won.
Oh, how much did you win?
64,000.
Wow.
When you had to answer a few questions to get there.
Yeah.
And 64,000, and who did you give it to, guys?
I gave it to Sparks, my half to Sparks, the medical research.
My dad had died with cancer and had great support with Macmillan. Yeah, so I just gave it to the Macmillan nurses. But it could have given it to Bob Wilson's charity.
I have Millionaire, not Millionaire. I went on and done.
He's done the cooking. It's the only one he's done.
I done the Anne. What's her name? The not I'm a Millionaire.
Weakest Link.
Weakest Link.
God,
that sounds so stupid. And I was knocked out in the first round. I was knocked out in the first round.
He's done Hell's Kitchen. You've turned down the jungle. You've turned down the dancing.
I tell you, I've done all that. But listen, she was brilliant, and they were so disappointed. It was absolutely stupid. However, I'm not even going to tell you the question because I was a complete and utter dunce.
Well, tell us why Pedrosa's brother wound you up so much.
Well, it wasn't his brother, Richard. It was his manager.
Your brother in his dressing room,
my brother was in his dressing room. We got that mixed up. But Santiago Del Rio, who was his manager, came into my dressing room and watched me wrap my hands. And this is a big issue because recently we had a guy called Antonio Margarito who was was going to box with a stacked glove. And what actually happened was
Explain.
He had put a bandage underneath a padded bandage underneath his surgical bandage, which was an old one and had apparently plaster of Paris in it.
Oh, right.
And when he fought Miguel Cotto and everything else, he busted them up, and they said he was a cheat, and his trainer was thrown out of the corner indefinitely and will never be allowed to get a license again. So what they do is they come in and they watch you bandage your hands for obvious reasons, but you can also just make a nuisance of yourself and try to get a little psychological edge. And what happened was he came in and he watched me bandage my hand, and he said, no, hey, do it again. So we took it all off, and it takes 10 minutes to do this. And of course, this is the biggest night of my life. I'm fretting, I'm wound up. And he said, do it again. And then he done it a second. I wrapped it a second time, and he said, no. And I lost my temper and came out with a couple of choice words. And then he didn't even stay to watch me wrap it the third time.
His job was done.
His job was done. He'd wound me up, and I lost my temper. And he just watched me explode, and he thought I was imploding, but it made me even more focused. And I was really, really cross, and I thought I'm gonna try and control this and just use it positively. But it was really, really annoying. It was the biggest night of my life, and he was really playing with my head. It was just a psychological edge.
We didn't know, Andy, did we? We're all watching. 27,000 there. You talk about the walk-in, 20 minutes to get from dressing room to the ring. In the wake of Heysel as well.
What happened was shortly after Heysel and all the Irish fans, and what happened was this. We had NBC covering my fight, and then ABC came in at the last moment and said, we want to fight. So they had no idea of they had an idea because they watched on television, but I don't think the pragmatism, they actually worked out how we were going to get to the ring.
Well, what they didn't know was it was going to take you 20 minutes.
In actual fact, it didn't take that long. I think it took 12 minutes, but what happened is in television circumstances, you understand, especially with commercial TV, they had to go to 3 commercial breaks, and I can imagine what was... I can imagine what screaming was going on in the directers.
Advertisers would have been happy.
Absolutely bonkers. But what we came out of the dugout, and we were supposed to turn left. I wouldn't be affected by the crowd, but turn left and then walk 40 yards up, and then turn right and walk unaccompanied towards the ring with the cameraman in front of me. They had no idea what my fans were like. As soon as I emerged from the dugout, everybody just came running in around me, and all the Irish go, "Oh, well done, Barry, come on now, son, we're all with you." And it was bonkers, and it was total and utter bonkers. So the police were very concerned. We lifted the barrier and Dutch done a beeline straight for the ring, and it took us a long time to get through the seats.
Listen, we can't give too much away because you've got to read the book, but there are other things, Andy, which are fascinating. What did he say to you at the end of the fight? We didn't know. We hoped. Yeah, those of us watching. He knew, didn't he?
He put his arm around me. I think the one and only time he said, "You'll be a good champ," and that was it.
He knew.
Good champ, he said, and he was taken away, and then the crowd was filled into the ring, and it was hoisted up on my shoulders.
Were there any dirty tricks? Did he have?
No, I don't think there was any dirty tricks. He was just a terrific champion and very difficult to hit properly.
You couldn't put him down properly.
I couldn't catch him, and I couldn't hit him clean, and it took me 7 rounds before I broke through with that right hand, and that really was, the fight was in the balance up to then, and then it really flipped into my favour after that. But then he fought back in the 8th. I think he won the 8th. I won the 9th and had him in trouble in the 9th. I won the 10th, and then I just started inching ahead, and I had him in trouble again on the 13th. But it was one of the last 15 rounders that was fought in Britain, you know, and it's 15 flat out, and I was so full of adrenaline that night in the crowd, and it was all such a great atmosphere, and then coming home into Ireland afterwards was unbelievable. My mother's house burned down, and it sounds ridiculous. The night that I won the world title, my mother's house burned down, and I have a funny story for you if you've got time for it.
More than enough time. You've got time. We have plenty.
My mother and my sister Rachel and my auntie Breege were the only ones in the family that stayed at home. So when the fire manifested behind the television. I think it was just wiring, and I think overload of electricity going into the town. Everybody stayed up the whole night. So it was like 5 o'clock in the morning before my auntie Breege was on the first floor, smelled the smoke, and she went downstairs, saw the flames and the fumes, and ran back up and woke my mother and woke my sister Rachel, and they ran to the window and they were shouting out to the window, "Help, help, we're on fire." And there was one guy called Brendan McKenna, the only guy in the town that was still actually on his feet, and Brendan, God rest him, he's dead now. He was as drunk as a skunk, and he was walking across the Diamond, and my auntie Breed shouted over to him, "Help, help, we're on fire." And he looked up at her and he says, "We're all on fire, love. You'll be all right in the morning." Carried on. So thankfully the fire engine and they got them out.
It's difficult for us to get a concept of what Clonus was like in those days. Again, you say in the book that you say everybody had our phone number.
Yeah.
There were tours. You got back from the fight. You're in bed one morning and there's a tour taking place around your house.
There's about 50 people outside looking into my bedroom. I'm in my underpants. But that was it. It was just a small town. We were on the border, and you know, we were accessible to everybody, and we always were, and that sort of was part of it. We were part of the community, and everybody meant something to me, and I knew people's names and I knew their children.
How did you manage to unite both sides in a very turbulent period of time in Irish history?
I mean, let's not forget, I was a Catholic. My wife was a Protestant and broke the rules. I was an Irishman. I fought for the British title in one of the most difficult times in Northern Ireland history. Everywhere I went, Richard, I was sickened by, you know, them marking out their territory, and there was such sadness, and it was really horrible time. And I just said, I am not going to go down that road. And fair play to Barney Easter. I know we had acrimony at the end and litigation, but he felt exactly the same way. And we said, we are not going to go down that road. We are not going to put any colours on. My father sang Danny Boy, which was a uniting song, and I made my shorts out of the United Nations flag of peace, and the slogan was "Leave the fighting to McGuigan." And people say, "Oh, that's commercial." It wasn't commercial. It was something that I felt deeply about, very strongly about. I didn't want, there was enough sadness. We were immersed in sadness, and it was a shocking time. And so for them, and that's almost what made it a better, and I know people say, why hasn't it ever been like it was with McGuigan? And it wasn't, because the time will probably, and I hope will never be like that again. And it was just absolutely incredible. When you walked into that King's Hall, I mean, the hairs would stand on the back of your neck. It was just deafening. Harry Carpenter said, I've never ever heard a charged atmosphere like it. It was phenomenal.
See, you talk about your dad singing Danny Boy, tremendous moments, but you didn't hear him that night against Pedroza, did you?
No. You're absolutely right. Now I know he has read the book back to front, because he knows exactly, because that was, it was, you know, you think about it, and you'll understand this too, Andy, being an athlete and being away for 8 weeks getting ready for the biggest night of your life, you're on an emotional knife edge, and you're walking towards a ring, and you're in the ring and 27,000 people are singing that song back at my dad, I couldn't listen to it. I would repeat a little thing over and over and over in my head, so I wouldn't listen to it. And then my brother, because this psychological thing, you heard about what Santiago del Rio done with the bandages, and Pedrosa is looking at me, staring at me, but I don't see that. And my brother is actually, and the song's been singing, all these people are singing back at them, and I'm repeating this little verse in my head to not listen to what Dad's singing. And my brother, he hits it, he says, Barry, he's staring at you. I said, what? He said, he's staring at you. So I actually looked across at him. He was giving me the dead eye, giving me the evil eye and this psychological eye. So I was smiling at him and just looking at him and winking at him. And it helped me blank out.
Very briefly, what was that little prayer?
Our little prayer was the angel of God. I repeated it over and over in my head. I don't need to say it, but it was very important to me. It was able to blank out everything else. So, but religion sometimes can get too much, and it's a very private thing for me, but it was important. It helped me keep my focus and blank out all the noise and create the right sort of story in my head.
Do you want more on that? Read the book. Barry McGuigan staying. We've got another 10-15 minutes for us.
Oh, be great.
Yeah,
fantastic. We are running late.
Yeah, well, I've got so many questions.
So have I. They may have to wait, because I promise you, listening to. There's a couple of things I do want to talk to Barry about concerning the book still. It's just after 11:30. Apologies. You're listening to Keys and Gray with Barry McGuigan on TalkSport.